What's up, it's Nick, and I'm going to show you how to turn the Nolzurs Cloud Giant into this. Going to start off on the flesh with a 50-50 mix of dark Prussian blue and heavy Bluegrey. If you'd like to see more tutorials like this, please do me a big favor and like this and subscribe to the channel. You can do that by clicking that little beholder right down in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. Basing the gold portions of her armor in heavy brown. So this will be on her legs, arms, and head. Adding a layer of heavy gold brown to the legs and arms will be edging and also applying a highlight to the more prominent areas that are facing the light source. Now with a 50-50 mix of heavy gold brown and white, I'll be applying even more edge highlights and highlights to the areas where I really want the light source to be twinkling off of. Using Sepia Ink, I'm going to be outlining the areas that are in the deepest groove, such as here where the bracers meet her legs, and in the little recesses that are built into the bracers. Now going over the entire gold area with a diluted mix of yellow ink. And as you'll be able to see, I'm going to be following the same steps for all the gold areas on this figure. Time to address the breastplate and the skirts, so I'll be going over these with a base coat of heavy black green. Back to the flesh, and I'll be using a 70-30 mix of heavy blue-gray to dark Prussian blue, and I'm going to be blocking out the highlights where I think the light source would be bouncing off. Now with pure heavy blue-gray, I'm going to be going over the last layer that I applied, only shrinking the playing field a little bit. In other words, I'll be painting over a smaller surface area. I'll be using heavy black green for her upper lip, and eventually later on I'll be using jade green for her blocking out those eyes with some heavy blue gray, and eventually I'll be going in and adding a pure white pupil. For the second layer of her armor, I'll be using jade green, and as you can see here, I'm going to be painting over a smaller surface area than I did with the base coat. This is still going to be a fairly sizable coat here. I'm going to be going over all of the outlines as well as some of the more predominant plates that would be facing the light. Adding heavy gold brown to that mixture, I'll be doing the same thing that I did with the flesh, and then I'm painting over those highlights that I just applied, only now I am painting over a smaller surface area. Addressing the trim of her skirts now, you'll see I already base coated them in heavy brown, and now I'm applying a mid-tone of heavy gold brown. Emphasizing the intricate marking on the trim of her skirts with some Sepia Ink. Picking my spots here with my heavy Goldbrown white mix. And topping it all off with a layer of yellow ink. Applying a mid-tone to the skirts now with a 50-50 mix of heavy black green and heavy Goldbrown. Already has some fantastic texture to it, so I'm going to be taking advantage of that and kind of just going right over the texture with the side of my brush, leaving that base coat in the deepest recesses. Now with a 60-40 mix of heavy Goldbrown to heavy black green, I will be narrowing the surface area that I'm painting over, focusing mainly on the upper ridges of the folds of her skirts. And finally topping it all off with a very faint dry brush of pure heavy Goldbrown. Now addressing the cloud accents that are located all over the figure, such as here on her shoulders. I'll be starting this with a base coat of dark Prussian blue. Now the 50-50 mix of dark Prussian blue and white, I'm going to be starting right against the figure and going up about 70% of the way, leaving the darkest portion of the dark Prussian blue, in other words the base coat, in the upper 30% of these areas of clouds, so that it kind of looks like a mixture of a blue cloud slash like a blue flame. Now adding even more white so that we have a 70-30 mix of white to dark Prussian blue. I'll be doing the same exact thing, only going up less of the way. With pure white, I'm going to be creating the brightest accents right up against the figure, such as here along the scalp. And down here on the chest. And here's the progression on the base. Following that same exact progression on this magic that she is emitting from her hand here. Now, since I feel like this magic she's emitting would be shedding some light, I am going over this figure with just a very, very faint dry brush of my 50-50 mix of dark Prussian blue and white. And for the cape, I'm starting her off with a base coat of dark Prussian blue. This is going to be an underlayer. The cape's mostly going to be gray, but I do want those blue accents underneath. For the midtone, I'll be using a 50-50 mix of heavy blue gray to dark Prussian blue. I'll be going over a majority of the cape, as you can see here, and I will be also following this up with a glaze to kind of make the transitions a little bit less harsh. And here is that glaze that I was talking about. Same mixture, just very, very diluted to the point where it's pretty translucent when you test it out either on your palette or on your skin. You can see the end result of that glaze right here as I begin a pure heavy blue-gray dry brush. It just makes the transitions a little bit smoother, which is why I like to use a glaze. And this dry brush here is doing a really nice job of going over the upper ridges of the folds in the cape itself. Base coating the base with a layer of heavy blue-gray. After going in and picking out some more prominent rocks with heavy brown, I am applying a black wash. Now that that wash is dry, I'll be finishing off that base with a dry brush of Stonewall gray. And there we have it, Nolzur's Cloud Giant. I truly hope you enjoyed and you found this helpful. Information on how to follow me on all my social media platforms is immediately following the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.